And Robert Crane was ready. He knew it. Everybody knew the dialogue. Nobody said, "What's my line?" Nobody. It was just a joy, great joy.
Hogan's Heroes wasn't just a sitcom. It was controversy in uniform. A show that turned Nazi POW camps into comedy stages and made audiences laugh at World War II. But behind the bumbling guards and clever prisoners, nothing was what it seemed.
My house, for one thing.
The cast included actual Holocaust survivors. The creator fought censors every week, and the show's premise was so offensive that it almost never made it to air. These are 15 weird facts about Hogan's Heroes. The show was created by a Holocaust survivor. Bernard Fine conceived Hogan's Heroes based partly on his own wartime experiences, though he transformed trauma into comedy through deliberate artistic choice. Fine believed that humor could defang Nazi imagery and rob them of the fear and respect they craved from history. He consulted with other survivors who supported the concept of making Nazis look foolish rather than frightening or competent. The show's mission was psychological warfare through mockery, showing that even in captivity, Allied prisoners could outwit and humiliate their captors through intelligence and creativity. Most of the main German characters were played by Jewish actors John Banner, Schultz, Robert Clary, LeBeau, and Leon Askin, Burkhalter, were all Jewish, with Clary being an actual Holocaust survivor who lost family members in concentration camps. Werner Klemperer, who played Klink, was the son of a famous conductor who fled Nazi Germany in 1933. These actors accepted roles playing Nazis only after being assured that the Germans would always be portrayed as incompetent buffoons who never won. The casting created powerful irony, survivors and refugees mocking the regime that had tried to destroy them and their families. Werner Klemperer had a no-win contract clause. Klemperer agreed to play Colonel Klink only after producers signed a contract guaranteeing that his character would never succeed in any way against the Allied prisoners. The actor, whose father had been a famous Jewish conductor forced to flee Germany, insisted that Nazis must always be shown as incompetent and foolish. Klemperer refused to play any scene where Klink appeared genuinely threatening or effective as a military officer. This contractual requirement shaped the entire series' tone and ensured that comedy never inadvertently glorified or humanized the Nazi regime in ways that could be misinterpreted. Robert Clary's concentration camp tattoo was visible. In some episodes, Clary survived Buchenwald and bore the concentration camp identification number A5714 tattooed on his arm, occasionally visible during filming when his costume sleeves rode up. The actor never hid his past and used his platform to educate people about the Holocaust through speaking engagements and interviews. Clary was the only survivor in his family. He lost 12 relatives, including his parents, in Nazi death camps. His presence on the show added profound weight to its mission of mocking Nazi authority, as a literal survivor was helping destroy their mystique through comedy and satire. The Stalag set was eerily authentic. Production designer Howard Hollander researched actual German POW camps extensively, creating a set that accurately reflected real Stalag layouts and architectural details. The barracks, fences, guard towers, and campgrounds were built to match historical photographs and survivor testimonies about camp conditions. The authenticity was deliberately uncomfortable. Creators wanted the setting to feel real, so the comedy's subversion of Nazi authority would be more powerful and pointed. Some World War II veterans who visited the set experienced emotional reactions to how accurately it recreated environments they had personally endured during captivity. No episode ever showed violence or death. Despite being set during World War II in a POW camp, the show maintained strict rules against depicting violence, injury, or death on screen that would make the comedy feel inappropriate or disrespectful. Characters might reference combat or missions, but viewers never saw graphic warfare or casualties that would undermine the comedy or trivialize real suffering experienced by actual prisoners of war. This deliberate choice separated the show from reality, creating a fantasy version of captivity where clever heroes always won through intelligence rather than violence or bloodshed. The absence of genuine danger made the show feel like harmless escapism rather than disrespectful comedy about serious historical tragedy and human suffering. Creators understood that showing actual consequences of warfare would destroy the comedic tone and betray their mission of defanging Nazi imagery through mockery, rather than dramatizing the real horrors that millions experienced during the actual conflict. Bob Crane was a technology-obsessive Crane who played Colonel Hogan, was fascinated by emerging video and audio recording technology, filling his dressing room with cutting-edge equipment decades before such tech became common or affordable for most consumers. He recorded nearly every aspect of production and his personal life using the latest Sony video equipment, creating an extensive archive of behind-the-scenes footage. This obsession would later become central to the scandal and mystery surrounding his unsolved 1978 murder in Arizona, when investigators discovered his extensive collection of explicit personal recordings. Fellow cast members remembered him as constantly filming behind-the-scenes footage and experimenting with early video editing techniques that previewed modern vlogging and reality television concepts. Crane's technical fascination was both his passion and ultimately part of his dark legacy, as the recordings provided crucial but insufficient evidence in the murder investigation that continues to fascinate true crime enthusiasts. The show never mentioned Jews or the Holocaust. Despite the Jewish heritage of many cast members and the historical context of Nazi genocide occurring simultaneously with POW camps, the show deliberately avoided any direct reference to concentration camps or systematic murder of millions. This decision was controversial even then. Some critics argued it whitewashed Nazi crimes, while others defended it as fantasy that wasn't claiming historical accuracy or comprehensive war coverage. The creators believed that mentioning the Holocaust would make comedy impossible and betray survivors who wanted to mock Nazis rather than give them serious dramatic weight that might suggest respect or fear. The silence about genocide created uncomfortable subtext that some viewers found disturbing, while others appreciated as necessary boundary for comedy to function without trivializing the unspeakable. This omission remains one of the most debated aspects of the show's legacy and its ethical approach to finding humor in wartime captivity. Fact number 9. Werner Klemperer won 2 Emmys. Playing Clint Klemperer's comedic performance earned him Outstanding Supporting Actor awards in 1968 and 1969, validating his approach to making Nazis ridiculous rather than threatening or dramatically compelling in ways that might humanize them. His physical comedy and precise timing created a character who was pompous, vain, and utterly incompetent in ways that systematically destroyed any notion of German military superiority or Nazi efficiency. Klemperer approached the role with serious dedication to farce, understanding that making audiences laugh at Nazis was politically important work disguised as entertainment during a period when World War II remained vivid in public memory. The Emmy recognition legitimized comedy about controversial subjects when performed with skill and clear moral purpose that never wavered from making the antagonists look foolish. His performance became the gold standard for how to mock historical evil without accidentally glorifying or sympathizing with the perpetrators of genuine atrocities. The camp commandant's office was full of historical artifacts. Colonel Klink's office contained actual World War II German military artifacts, including authentic maps, communications equipment, and decorations that production designers sourced from military collectors and historical societies across the United States. The attention to detail created visual authenticity that grounded the absurd comedy in recognizable historical reality, making the setting feel genuinely period-appropriate despite fantastical plotlines. Props included genuine Nazi-era telephones, typewriters, and filing systems that made the setting feel convincingly accurate for anyone familiar with World War II equipment and administrative materials. The historical accuracy of set dressing created ironic contrast with the completely fictional portrayal of camp operations and German military competence throughout the series' run. Some of these authentic artifacts are now considered valuable historical collectibles, with prop houses and museums competing to acquire pieces from the show's extensive and meticulously researched collection of genuine wartime equipment. Ivan Dixon left due to limited character development. Dixon, who played Kinch, departed after 5 seasons because he felt the show wasn't developing his character or addressing racial issues that were becoming central to American consciousness during the Civil Rights era. He wanted to direct and produce projects that explored African American experiences more seriously than a POW camp sitcom allowed. Dixon had become increasingly frustrated with playing what he saw as a supporting role that didn't reflect the leadership and complexity that Black characters deserved during a transformative period in American race relations. His departure reflected broader tensions about Black representation in television and whether comedy could adequately address social justice issues. Dixon's exit highlighted how even successful shows could fail to satisfy actors seeking more meaningful artistic engagement with contemporary political reality and racial dynamics that were reshaping American society and entertainment industry expectations about diversity and representation. The show was huge in Germany. Despite, or because of, its satirical portrayal of German military incompetence, Hogan's Heroes became enormously popular in West Germany, where audiences appreciated seeing Nazis mocked rather than glorified or treated seriously. German television edited some references and dialogue, but maintained the show's basic premise of bumbling authority figures being outwitted by clever Allied prisoners. The show's popularity reflected post-war German society's complex relationship with Nazi history and desire to see that era defanged through humor rather than dramatic reverence that might suggest continued sympathy or respect. German audiences particularly enjoyed Schultz's "I know nothing" catchphrase, which became widely quoted in popular culture and political discourse about responsibility and complicity during the Nazi era. The show ran for years in German syndication, with some critics arguing it helped younger Germans distance themselves from their parents' generation, while others worried it trivialized genuine historical atrocities through excessive comedy. Larry Hovis wore a wedding ring. Despite being single, Hovis, who played Carter, wore a wedding ring throughout the series, even though his character was unmarried and he himself was single during early seasons of production. The ring was worn deliberately to make his character seem less available and reduce romantic subplot possibilities that producers wanted to avoid to maintain focus on espionage rather than relationships. Hovis felt that maintaining focus on espionage comedy rather than romantic entanglements would keep the show sharper and more mission-focused without distraction from the central premise of prisoners outsmarting their captors. The small detail reflected the cast's investment in maintaining the show's tone and their willingness to use personal choices to shape their characters' presentation and story possibilities. Hovis's decision demonstrated how actors could subtly influence their characters' development through minor costume choices that affected how writers approach storylines and character interactions throughout the series' run. The show ended because of CBS's rural purge. CBS canceled Hogan's Heroes not due to ratings decline, but as part of the network's infamous rural purge that eliminated successful shows appealing to older rural audiences in favor of urban-oriented programming targeting younger demographics. The cancellation also reflected rising production costs and the expense of maintaining the elaborate outdoor set that replicated a German POW camp with authentic detail. By 1971, Vietnam War protests and cultural changes made comedy about military captivity seem less appropriate or entertaining to network executives seeking contemporary relevance and programs that address current social issues. The show's end marked a broader shift in television away from escapist World War II nostalgia toward more challenging content about current social conflicts and generational tensions. Despite still drawing solid ratings, Hogan's Heroes became a casualty of changing network strategies that valued demographic appeal over absolute viewership numbers, establishing patterns that still influence television programming decisions today. Bob Crane's unsolved murder haunts the show's legacy. Crane was bludgeoned to death in an Arizona apartment in 1978, a crime that remains officially unsolved despite decades of investigation and speculation about suspects and motives. The brutal murder and subsequent revelations about Crane's secret personal life involving explicit home videos cast a dark shadow over the show's lighthearted legacy and comedic intent that had entertained millions. The murder mystery became the subject of books, documentaries, and the film Autofocus, shifting how people remembered both Crane and Hogan's Heroes from innocent nostalgia to tragic true crime fascination. The unresolved case created uncomfortable irony, a man who played an invincible hero who always escaped danger met a violent end that transformed him from beloved TV icon into tragic mystery. Hogan's Heroes remains one of television's most controversial experiments, a show that asked whether comedy could mock evil without trivializing history. The cast of survivors and refugees transformed their trauma into satire that stripped Nazis of mystique and power through relentless mockery. 50 years later, it stands as testament to humor's potential as psychological warfare and the complicated ethics of laughing at humanity's darkest moments.